What if the Lutece Field wasn't a portal but a prison for reality itself? Letter FBFF Syriaclet Sirac Netarevnan 7 UU SSSS//SS0P0P Spires HHSS plus claw not SSPP00S/S/ upward, but inward toward a shattered collapsing window axis. The whispers of a reality Luteces didn't bridge dimensions, suffocating under its own weight. They trapped them. Their lift siphons spatial integrity, a black hole gnawing at quantum threads. Verticality isn't ascent, it's entropy-made architecture. Every floating debris, every shattered window, whispers of a reality suffocating under its own weight. What does Andrew Ryan believe when his city drowns in the void he summoned? That salvation and collapse are the same breath. What if the Lutece Field wasn't a portal but a prison for reality itself? Columbia's floating spires, errant defiance ether collapse suspended mid-scream. The lighthouse's glow isn't guidance, it's a singularity feasting on parallel worlds. Every gravitational anomaly, every shattered window, whispers of a field devouring its own fabric. The lift's ascent escapates a descent into a reality-specific black hole. The lighthouse, the man, the city triad repeats not as myth but as warning. Ideology carves labyrinths where truth dissolves. Infinite's architecture doesn't float, it implodes. 1,000 drowned cities swirl within its steel veins. What does it mean when a civilization's highest point is its tomb? The Lutece Field's silence isn't emptiness, it's the void swallowing every answer. The year 1893 saw Comstock's Columbia ascend, its spires piercing a sky not of air but of fractured possibility. The Lutece Field did not open, Dorset walled them in. Each lift a vertical tomb, its gears grinding not upward but inward, folding the city into a geometry of stolen dimensions. The citizens walked on floors that defied gravity's arithmetic, unaware their every breath was siphoned from a reality already dead. By 1946, Rapture's drowned corridors mirrored this hubris. Both cities, lighthouses built to burn out. In Columbia, the fields hummed with a sound just beyond human hearing, a dirge for the realities devoured to keep the skybound lie aloft. Windows refracted not sunlight but the ghostly afterimages of other worlds, their colors too vivid, their shadows too sharp. The Lutece Field's true toll was not travel, it was accumulation, a horde of broken physics, each use deepening the collapse. Comstock's heaven was a siphon, its citizens unwitting custodians of a black hole dressed in brass, and Rapture's architects, meanwhile, drowned in their own salt water, never noticing the same void gnawed at their concrete. Both cities paid in kind, one with altitude, one with depth. The Lutece Field did not connect worlds, it buried them. And in that silence, the void kept growing hungry, infinite, and very, very deep. 162 words. The field isn't holding, it's unraveling. Beat, 3 words, 3 syllables, 3 cracks in the foundation of Columbia's sky. Minerva's den did not record a malfunction, they documented a funeral. The Lutece Field's quantum lattice never a bridge, never a door, was a shroud for realities, folding them into itself like smoke drawn into a chimney. The audio diaries confirm it, equations fraying, probabilities bleeding, entire dimensions siphoned into the vertical sprawl of Columbia. The city's spires are not monuments, they are tombstones. Each level a layer of stolen worlds, compressed into the architecture until the weight of infinity becomes a ceiling, a floor, a corridor. The Luteces called it a lift, a misdirection, a lie in code. What they built was no elevator between realms. It was a well, a vortex that did not cross boundaries but collapsed them, merging existence with non-existence in a silent implosion. The field's quantum properties, its ability to anchor Columbia, were never about stability. They were about consumption. Every pulse of the device did not open a portal. It swallowed a reality whole, stitching its remnants into the city's bones. And the denizens, they walked through the evidence, the flickering lights, the shifting geometry, the whispers in empty rooms, not glitches, echoes. Voices of the erased, trapped in the field's event horizon. Columbia did not float above the world. It floated above the grave of 1,000 worlds. What remains now is the question no diary answers. When the field finally fails, will the city fall, or will reality itself? The city's bones are not stone but spacetime. Each spire tilts at a forbidden angle. Each street curves like a wound stretched open, a geometry that does not compute, only compels. Beneath the brass and the gilded lies a field not bridging but fracturing, crossing, not connecting. 1,000 layers of now peeling into then, here bleeding into never. What if the lift was never ascent? What if each ride downward spiraled deeper into the event horizon of a reality-specific void? A graffiti scrawled in ash on a derelict wall, asterisk the sky is a scar. Touch it and the world forgets you. Asterisk an audio log, static written, a voice gasping. Asterisk we built a tomb out of light, no it's hungry. Asterisk Columbia floats not on engineering but on erasure. The Lutece Field's collapse didn't shatter dimensions, it folded them into itself, a black hole fed by the weight of every possible world it devoured. The city's gravity is not a force, it is a hunger. The spires lean like ribs of some vast, starved thing. The streets twist as if mapped by a mind unraveling. Every elevation shift is a step closer to the singularity's heart. What the Lutece Field prison holds is not just Columbia. It holds the proof that reality is fragile, that crossing lines between worlds does not unite them, it consumes. The dread is not in falling, it is in realizing the city has never fallen, it has always been sinking. And the deeper it goes, the less of the world remains to meet it. The Lutece Field's hum was never a song of connection, it was a dirge. In 1912, as Columbia's spires clawed at the sky, the field's fractures began to bleed. Not light, not energy asterisk possibility asterisk. The Vox Populi's rage, their shattered flags and bloodied hymns, was not rebellion. It was the field's instability given form. A city built on the bones of 1,000 timelines could not long resist the weight of its own contradictions. The Lutece siblings, twin architects of paradox, had not opened a portal. Thade carved a wound. Columbia's verticality was no divine mandate. It was a map of collapse, each tier a layer of reality peeling away, streets twisting like the helix of a dying star. The lift, that silver thread between worlds, was no bridge. It was a tether, anchoring the city to a singularity of its own making. To ride it was to fall not upward, but inward. Toward the core where all choices collapse into one, the lighthouse, the man, the city. The same pattern that drowned Rapture in its own hubris now hung Columbia by the throat, its spires fracturing into the mouths of infinite elsewins. What does a city look like when it is both prisoner and jailer? When its people breathe in air thick with the dust of vanished worlds, the taste of ozone in the Vox chants. The flicker in Elizabeth's eyes as she grasped the field's truth too late. Comstock's crown, forged from the same delusion that made Rapture a tomb. 2 cities, 2 gods, 2 failures etched in stone and quantum foam. The Lutece Field was never meant to save. It was always the cage, every dimensional shift a step closer to the black hole at the heart of the vertical prison. The Vox uprising, a final, futile scream as the walls of their reality closed in. And above it all, the lighthouse at the original, the archetype burning with the same cold fire that doomed both fathers and sons. The deeper you sink, the fewer hands reach out, but what if the hands you see are not yours? What if they belong to a version of you who already knows the field was never a lift, it was a fall? And the ground, it was always the sky. Columbia's sky-piercing spires are not monuments to progress, they are fractures. The Lutece Field's lift was never a bridge, only a collision point, where realities bled into each other. Canonical records describe its effects as crossing, not connecting, a distinction that haunts. What if the field's true function was not to link worlds but to trap them? The vertical architecture of Columbia's endless ascents and sudden drops mirrors the chaos of a collapsing multiverse, each floor a dimension. Each elevator shaft a wound. The Lutece Field's lift was a funnel, compressing infinite layers into a single, screaming axis. No stable infrastructure. No grand design, only entropy dressed as engineering. The field's creators, the Lutece twins, spoke of harmonizing realities. But harmony is a lie told to survivors. The field was a containment failure. A black hole not of gravity but of contradiction, swallowing timelines, folding them into itself. The collapse was silent. No one heard the dimensions shatter. Only the survivors above, building their city on the carcass of 1,000 dead worlds. And when the field failed, the ground fell upward. The sky became a prison. You thought the lift was a bridge. It was always the abyss. The Lutece Field did not bridge realities, it caged them. Columbia's spires, its inverted gravity, were not engineered but a road carved by the entropy of 1,000 colliding what-ifs. The Luteces did not open doors, they bored a well into the event horizon of possibility. Each pulse of their field was a stone dropped into the void, listening for the echo of a universe's collapse. The city's ascent was not defiance of physics but surrender to a higher arithmetic, quantum geometry bent until it snapped. The lift never bridge, never escape was the singularity's throat, swallowing timelines whole. Elizabeth's choice was never to close the rift, only to acknowledge its inevitability. The field's failure was its purpose. A reality folded too thin could not hold. The ground fell upward not as accident but arithmetic. The Luteces, for all their whispers, were not architects. They were scribes recording the death rattle of a multiverse. Columbia's fall was not a wound, it was the scab. And when the sky became a prison, it was not the end. It was the final breath of a star made of maybes. The lift's silence is the gravest of a black hole, not of matter, but of meaning. What remains when the field's truth is known? Not a bridge, not a portal, a tomb. And in its shadow, the only certainty. Some singularities do not expand, they remember. Columbia's spires do not reach heaven, they pierce the membrane, each tier a fracture, each street a collapsing layer. The Lutece Field did not open doors, it carved a wound where realities bled into one another. Rapture's abyssal descent mirrored Columbia's skyward implosion, both lighthouses, both beacons for doomed visions. The Lutece's equations did not chart dimensions. They mapped the erosion of what is allowed to be. Their experiments didn't just weaponize faith, they fed a singularity that devours context. A city built on verticality becomes a stack of dying worlds. Every elevator ride a plunge into thinner air. Every flag a tattered banner of a reality already unmade. The field's energy was never flight. It was a tether Columbia held aloft by the gravity of 1,000 collapsed timelines. What if infinite's lift was never ascent but entrapment? A city suspended not by physics but by the weight of 1,000 dying worlds pressing in. The Lutece's whispers were not guidance. They were the moans of a structure too fragile to hold its own shape. The field's true prison is not for the wicked. It is for reality itself, and every flight is a fracture. Every fracture a requiem. The Luteces did not break the multiverse. They revealed its skin thin, paper thin, ready to tear. What did the lighthouse see as the field unraveled? Not a bridge, but a wound Columbia's spire piercing reality's veil. Elizabeth's escape. A key turning locks we didn't know existed. The lift's ascent, layers of selves drowning in their own echoes. The field's silence. A tomb for every what-if swallowed by verticality. Ideological ruin refracted. What hung in the air unseen as the sky split. What if Columbia's floating architecture isn't a defiance of gravity, but a cage for it? The Luteces didn't weave portals, they carved wounds in spacetime, each experiment birthing a singularity. The lift, never a bridge, was a spiral into collapse. Infinite's ascent wasn't escape but entrapment, every floor a layer peeling reality's skin.